Start the lecture and share my screen. And everybody let me know if you can see my screen. Okay, perfect. All right, so today's plan is a little bit different. What we're going to be doing over the next few lectures is we're going to be building out a project. So us instructors will be spending the next few days building a project from scratch. And so the project we're actually going to be doing is cookies coding. So this was something that was mentioned during the workshop on LinkedIn. And so it was a cookies coding, crunching code. Well, actually, I'll put the motto later, but it's IT services and consulting. And let's just put our motto down before we start. So our motto, if I remember correctly, crunching code, one cookie at a time. And so this project will just be the standard, what we're familiar with. Exactly. So it'll be the standard stack that we have, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So it's nothing different, but the main reason why we're showcasing this is we want to include a little bit on GitHub and collaboration. So we want to show how that comes into play. So we'll be showing that through, the three of us instructors throughout our lectures. We'll sort of be working on the same thing, and we'll be showing how to use GitHub to collaborate on projects of that sort. And so the first thing we're going to do, there's two things we'll do today. Today we're doing market research and making user stories. So let me actually write that down. So first we're going to do a bit of market research to find out exactly what are some things we need to think about for this, cookies and coding. Let me draw that. And okay, here's a good color for the cookie. Put some chocolate chips in it. There we go. So we're going to start with market research. And I'll actually draw out the whole process of what we're doing. So we have a market research, and that's going to give us a markdown. We're going to write all our findings inside a document, like a markdown document, that'll be put on our repo. And then what we're going to do after that is we're going to come up with some user stories. So remember from earlier lectures, user stories are sort of like, from the perspective of the user, how do they think about what features we should have, right? So a user would be like, I am X user, like what sort of user they have, and I want feature Y. In general, that's the best way to think about user stories. So what type of user we have and what sort of feature we want. And so we'll use our market research to learn a little bit more about what this is and what we should do with it. And then we'll get a set of user stories from that. And so that's the bulk of today's section. And this will also be a markdown document. Let me actually do that a little more clearly here. Okay. And so after that, after we get that markdown document going, what we're going to end up doing then is, so the markdown document for these user stories. And then from that, we actually begin our wireframing. Wireframing is something we'll get to later today in the afternoon. But wireframing is essentially just building out the structure of our app, or, a really simple design for what it might look like. So, we have a page, we have a header, a footer, just put header, footer, then maybe some really basic navigation, like if you click this, we should go here. If you click that, we should go here. So like really basic idea of wireframing. So we'll go over that. And then after wireframing, so Once things are wireframed, and again, to keep in mind, the wireframing comes from the user stories because the user stories tell us what features we want. And so from that, it's then easier to think about, what sort of elements do we need to actually fulfill these user stories, to fulfill these features. And so once we get our wireframe going, then now this is the more of the collaborative aspect, is that what we can do is we can outline tasks, right? And so outlining tasks, this is like things that need to be done. Like I want, we need, say, a good example would be like, we need an input field and 4 buttons for our header. That's just an example. 4 buttons for our header. So breaking down the wireframe into a set of accomplishable tasks. And then what we'll do from there, so then when we actually get into the coding later, this is the actual coding. Right, so as far as project management, we will not be introducing. So there are a few, that's a good point. There are a few pretty good project management tools. So we won't be doing anything like that. But the idea is this tasks will be like a markdown document. So that is something that we will see. And when any one person is working on this, they can, they'll know what they're working on. And well, I'll show it in a bit more detail as well. But they know what they're going to be working on. And so, that'll be in that document as well as, so when they make that, they'll be checking out a branch to work on those features. And then when they merge it back in, they will mention that, okay, this task and this task was completed by me. So let's see. Coding. So this is actually fulfilling the tasks, writing the code, etc. And so throughout all of this, there will be sort of, yeah, it's good, not much space. So throughout all of this, because each of us, we're sort of coding independently, us instructors, we have a main branch, and I'll draw this again when it's sort of more clear, but we have our main branch. And so when we start our lecture, typically what we're going to do, let me, easier to see color. Sure, let's do green. We will check out a separate branch that we're actually going to work on. So the lecture number for today, oh my goodness, someone is signed in. Can everyone still hear me? Okay, I hope it. I think this might be why my audio was not. There's some issues with that. There are like multiple people signed in. All right, well that's as long as everything can be heard. So, I would probably check out at the start of this lecture. I will be showing I will be making the GitHub repo from scratch, the setup, and I'll explain everything what it looks like. But once I make the initial GitHub repo and I push that, I'll be checking out a different branch, lecture 36. And then in this lecture, I'll be adding the market research markdown document. So that I'll be adding. And then I'll be adding the user stories markdown document. And then that's it. So those two will be added. And then what I'll do is I will show how we make a pull request to our main. So how we merge those changes back into main. So then main now reflects those changes. It'll be everything that was initially on main, plus the lecture 36 additions that we had today. And so I'll be showing how I'm going about doing that when we get to that, which will probably be at the end of the lecture. I think the most important takeaway, though, is that this lecture, because it's being recorded, and let me just double check that. Yep, so I'm recording. I'll go into branches. So branches are, this is from our Git lecture, but I will sort of do a quick refresh on that. The main takeaway from this lecture is that this is a resource for you to refer back to. I don't recommend following every step, like replicating it on your end. I instead recommend taking notes to get the general idea of what we're doing, because these will be recorded for you. And also, When you do get to making your own project, which is coming pretty soon, once we have the outline for that, we will spend a lab explaining what we want. So once that has been delivered, like the actual project that y'all are working on, a lot of these steps will be redone. So it's not particularly helpful to follow exactly what I'm doing, making the exact same repo, doing the exact same ChatGPT queries and all that. But yeah, this is more helpful just for taking notes, just to get a general idea. And yes, I will also share these lecture slides. So as I'm going about making this, I will put lecture slides up, and I will add to these slides, and I will also put these up at the end of lecture. So that was a general outline. If anybody has any questions, please let me know. Or if everything's all right, also let me know if everything's okay, just in the chat as well. So PR stands for pull request. PR is how we merge changes from a separate branch into like other branches, how we merge changes from one branch to another. So when we do that, I will explain in more detail what I'm doing and what's changing, and I will also show it. And then MD is Markdown. It's just like a document type that we use. Right. So this is not I guess, yeah, this is kind of like project management, because I'm just showing what I'm doing each step of the way. This is more like our lecture, and for the next, I guess, not just one lecture, but the next 4 lectures, what we're going to be doing. So I think the best way to put it is that right now we're working on this. So this is the morning. And then in the afternoon, we'll do this bit and outline tasks. And then for the next, I would say 3 to 4 lectures, we're going to be coding. It might take more or less, depending. Yeah, so we'll go into more details about the project later, probably tomorrow, or maybe even later. It could be this lab, it could be next lab, but yeah, the idea is that we will spend a good portion of a lab just explaining the project fully and what's expected. And you guys will also have labs, like these labs will also be free. For sure, yeah. So this is just like general, but I will be going into more detail of, about these and how we're doing it as well. Yeah. Because I will be, basically what I'm doing is, this is just an overview of the next 4 lectures. Over the next, like this morning, the next hour and a half or so, I'll basically just be doing this and showing how I'm going about doing it. So this is, yeah, so this, you will probably follow steps similar to this when you make your own project soon, but you're not building this cookies coding. Like, this is something I'm building as a representation of what you will do later as a group for your own project that we assign soon. So this is just us instructors. We're building this out, and this is sort of like a resource to refer to with regards to the process of how to go about it. For sure, yeah. This is all right. So if everything's okay. If anybody has any more questions, let me know. Or if everything is okay, just type yes, and we can get started with our first step, which is going to be the market research. And I haven't done this market research before, so like this is new, and we'll all be learning as we go. Okay, perfect. All right, so let's think about this. Cookies coding, crunching code 1 cookie at a time. Okay, so I think the first thing what we can do is, even before market research, let's do some setup. All right, so let's check this out. Can everyone see my screen? So I'm on GitHub now. So before I actually start the market research, I'm going to create a repo from scratch that all of us instructors can use. Because I want to be like, even though I won't be doing any code today, I'm just adding 2 files to the repo and then pushing that, right? But I think it's good to get everything set up first. So I just click new and, it's a good name. Cookies coding. Wait, there we go. And let's see, crunching code 1 cookie at a time. Again, there's no need to like replicate these exact steps because this will be different for your project, but I'm just doing it. This is a general project. Us instructors are choosing to demonstrate the process. So we're going to go with cookies coding. This is something that, we went with for our LinkedIn workshop. Okay, so crunching code 1 cookie at a time, IT services and consulting. Okay, so let us create that repo. Okay, perfect. So this is the initial commit. So I'm just going to copy the SSH and let us, I open VS Code here. Let's make a new terminal, so we'll open a terminal, open bash. Okay. So let us, sure, let's make this in a desktop. Git clone. There we go. Okay. Now let us open this folder. Use coding. Yep. Lost folders. Okay, so right now we don't really have anything in there. But okay, I want to switch to my bash branch. Bash. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is so the README file, that was an option when I was initially creating it, you were given an option, it's like a checkbox to have the README file in the start. So I opted to have that there because I just don't want to start with an empty repo. So let me show y'all what I am doing here. Let's go back to our drawing board. And so I will draw in a little bit more. So I just opened the folder that I cloned into. But I guess, yeah, the takeaway is just sort of to follow along the steps and just to take some notes. But these will be provided. So yeah, here I just opened the folder that I cloned my repo into, which was the cookies coding. So SSH, that was set up before. We used Git and we showed how to set that up. So you can do Git clone through SSH. Okay, so everything that I have said is recorded. So this will be put online. I will say the main takeaway for this lecture is more just to take notes and just to see the process rather than like replicating everything. So I would actually strongly discourage replicating what I'm doing because it won't be helpful because you'll have to redo it anyway when you do your own project. Because what I'm doing right now, this is a separate thing that us instructors have picked as a project just to demonstrate the process. All right. But what I'm going to do next is I'm going to check out a new branch. And the reason why I'm doing that is so I have a main branch here. And before I start the lecture in terms of making files or, doing these, the market research and the user stories, these 2 things that I'm doing today, I'm going to be putting these into a separate like markdown documents. And I'll be adding that to the repo. And so everything that I do today in lecture, I will do it on a separate branch. And so that branch, I think I will just call it lecture 36, which makes the most sense to me. And so it's like I do all my development. So I add the market research and I add the user stories. So these are two files that I add to my repo. And you know what? Before I add these, I'll also do some initial setup just to make, future lectures a bit easier. And I'll show, what that is that I'm doing, and I'll explain why I'm doing it that way. But once I have all these things done at the end of the lecture, I will do a pull request back into my main branch, and this will be something when it gets to that, I will show that. And the idea is that after that point, my main branch will have all the changes that we have for today's lecture 36. Okay. And again, this is absolutely necessary because Yaman, who will be lecturing in the afternoon, will need all these changes. Like, he will need these user stories and the market research to do the wireframing and to actually generate a set of tasks then that we will look into and be like, okay, this is what we need to do to build everything out. So let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check out a separate branch. Okay. And all right, so now that I have, right, so when you create your own repo, it will be your own project name, yep. And all the details about that for the project will be we'll give you like a full page document that outlines everything that is needed. And as well, yes, so that repo though will be public. The one that you make, and I'll make sure to put it on there, it's public. All right. So let's think about how to set up this repo. And this is just for us. So for us instructors, what we're going to be doing is let's have a public folder. Now public, and I will even put a README in here. So I'll put here, this is where you will find the HTML, CSS, and JS files. And you know what? I will even create some of those. These are just blank files. I'm not going to be editing these during this lecture. Public and script. Okay. I just made a few files. And I mean, this should be kind of clear. Like, this is just the standard, when you have an HTML, the website, you obviously need the script and the styles. We'll make another one as well. So let's call this assets. This is a bit different, but again, in the README, just so it's easier, I'll say this is where we will put images and icons that are going to be used in our HTML page. So any images that we have that we want to put in, like, cookies coding, maybe we want a picture of a cookie. And so the idea is that we have somewhere to put these photos. And it even says, assets like that. So that's why I added that. Oops. Okay. Let's add a new folder. So this is the folder we're going to be working with today. It's going to be called docs. And so in this docs folder, so I'll just write down, this is where we will place our market research, our user stories, as well as wireframes. Okay. And I will actually separate those. I'll make a new one, the wireframes. And let me actually edit this and our user stories. And let me make a new README. So one thing is with GitHub, you actually need to like, something needs to be inside of a folder so it can be on the outside. So the change is reflected and you can actually push the change. Like something has to be in that folder for that folder to be pushed to your repo. That's why I'm also putting these READMEs files in, but READMEs are also used just to explain what's there. So this README, I'll say, this is where our wireframes go. Please include either like a PDF doc of the wireframes or images of wireframes. All right. Okay, so I have my eventual structure. I have 3 folders at this level, and then in the docs, I have another one with wireframes. And I just have README docs just to explain what's going in each of them. And as you can see here, exactly, yeah, docs is a folder. So as I see here, now I have some untracked files, so I'm going to add those. I'm going to commit these. I'm going to say initial setup for lecture 36. So those have been committed, and then I will push. Now it's giving me an error here, and it's saying that I have no upstream branch, because so what this means is that on my remote repository on the GitHub server, there is no branch called lecture 36. So I need to create that and push to that. So to do that, it actually tells us here, I need to type in. Okay, so I did that and I pushed everything, perfect. So now let's take a look at our remote repository here. Oops. So again, the main branch only has the README file. And this is because of the fact that everything I did was on my lecture 36 branch. And so we can see that when I switch to this branch here, notice how now, I have all these new things, and I even put the same comment, initial setup. And so what we're going to be mostly putting things into this docs folder. So we'll end this lecture with 2 new files added here. And okay, perfect. All right, so let's get started on this process. Let's see, how are we going to do this? Okay. So, all right, so our first step is going to be ChatGPT market research. Well, I'll use ChatGPT to help with the market research. And so typically this ChatGPT is a good resource in that context. All right, so let's check this out. So I will tell them that, and I'll also take a lot of feedback from you guys as well, when it comes to this. So, I am building an IT consulting services website, or just IT consulting services called. Yeah, I do have 4.0. Although there's a cap of 50.
Oh, Miss Ken. Miss Ken, go back to my.
I think someone accidentally unmuted, so I just muted them. But all right, no worries. That happens. So yeah, we could use ChatGPT 4, but the thing is, I think some other people might be using it for something. And there's a message cap, so I don't want to. Yeah, it's 50 every 3 hours. But it's okay. 3.5 is definitely more than enough. Oh yeah. You don't need ChatGPT 4 for projects. I always use like 3.5. Yeah. All right, so let's tell this AI what to do. So I'm building an IT consulting services called Cookies Coding. I want to make a website for this consulting service, and maybe I'll also tell it that this is my MVP. So what MVP is, my minimum viable product, is a rather simple website that is just going to use that is for the purposes of demonstration and only uses HTML, CSS, and JavaScript and has no backend. So everything is just, I'll just say here, everything is locally run by opening the index.html on my Chrome browser. And I'll tell them, what are some things you can tell me that such a website should have? See what it says. Oh, wow. That's a lot. It's a lot of things to think about. Okay. Okay, perfect. So it's a lot of stuff here. And actually, yeah, anybody, like, feel free to let me know what are some other things other than like these that you think we should also have on this like IT consulting service. Because it makes sense. We have a homepage, we have, a logo, these sorts of things, services offered, maybe past projects, like past clients that have used our services and that have had a lot of success. We'd probably want to include them. Contact info, like how to contact us, testimonials, an about us section, FAQ, navigation. Is there anything else that sort of comes to mind? What I'll actually do is I'm going to open up a separate document here. Yeah, feel free to type in the chat or, unmute yourselves. So ChatGPT 4 does generate images, although not 3, 4, but the images that I've seen on 4 are not that great. Like, they don't seem to be they don't seem to be particularly, yeah, the oh, really interesting. Okay, I think I can portfolio for sure. Yeah, so I think, yeah, why don't we'll use the image on the 4.0 to generate a logo. It's not that it's not realistic. I think sometimes it makes it too realistic. Like, I wanted an image of of like the document object model, which I remember was covered earlier this week, but I think it was yesterday, but I wanted an image of a document object model, like very abstract image of what it looks like. And it gave me these like very complex, like 3D photos of like nodes as spheres, and they're like connected almost like an art piece, which is not what I wanted. But we'll definitely use that to make our logo. I think that would be great. All right, so I would say what we should do, so we'll get to here shortly, but what I will also do, I'm going to use this to actually generate a markdown file. And so this is actually where we're going to put all our user, research. I just copied a little bit from here. This is from a separate document that I have. I have my introduction. Two, 1, 2, 3. Here, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is the beginning of my market research document. And so I will ask ChatGPT to sort of help me generate these and try to make sense of what it gives me. Okay. I think and I will even say, so I think that almost everything you have offered as considerations is great. Specifically, the homepage, services offered, portfolio or projects, contact info, client testimonials, about us, and FAQ section. However, I'll say I also think actually, I think we need a contact page, like where the user in question will send information to us for us to get back to them, right? So we need that as well. Maybe that's actually on the homepage. Oh, SEO, that's also great. So I think it's a very good. Oh yeah, excellent. We also need SEO, and I think even later when we'll be using ChatGPT just to generate the initial setup for what the HTML should look like. I think in there we can ask it to include meta tags for SEO. So yeah, without ChatGPT, this would all be done like there would be a brainstorming session, and we would use a flow chart to sort of think about these things and come up with them. Maybe we would even look at some other. I mean, we can look at some other IT services consulting sites just to get some ideas, and I think we'll do that a little bit later once we have a little bit of the document already like a little bit done for the market research and user stories. We'll also look at other. I think that's a great example. So I'm going to write that down later in this lecture. Let's look at some other IT consulting sites, and let's do that as well. Great question. Exactly, visual appeal. So visual appeal, that'll come in the wireframe. So when in the afternoon section, absolutely, we'll be spending like a good deal of time thinking about the visual appeal and what sort of fonts, what sort of typography we can use, what sort of colors are best for this sort of a product. Because usually, colors are important. Certain colors will convey different things. Cookie Monster theme. Actually, I think that would be pretty good. There needs to be something with the Cookie Monster somewhere. I think that would be pretty funny. Absolutely. Legal information as well. Yes. I will actually. Let's see what we get here. So I told it what some things we want to consider. Okay, perfect. I like this. This is pretty good. All right, so I think this is good. Let's copy this, and then I'm not like copying all of it, obviously. I think we will go through this and see what's good and what's not. So we can, obviously we don't want that. Perfect. So we have overview. So we're an IT consulting service provider aimed at assisting businesses. Okay, perfect. Present. Okay. Excellent. Peace, lead. Okay. Anything else that might go in purpose? I mean, I think this was pretty good. Demonstrating expertise and also providing a means for them to contact us. Maybe also there will be a bit, maybe actually, let me put this here, market research, or not market research, but advertising. I'll put here, the MVP is a means to an end regarding our product, our services being offered at the market and seen by potential clients. and then maybe even here, feedback. There should be a feedback section. I think that would be great. So we'll even put a feedback section. He also aims to include a feedback section to potential clients, wherein recommendations can be provided regarding potential future developments. And I'll say this allows our service to be more dynamic with regards to client needs. Trying to use as many, business buzzwords as possible. Okay, so this would now be fourfold. Target audience. I mean, I think this is perfect. Small and medium businesses, startups, nonprofit, entrepreneur. I think that's great. Awesome. So problems to solve. I think those are all already good. And I'll even say, furthermore, this list is not exhaustive. I would say as our services expand, it's a good word here. Oh, perfect. Okay. What are some failures in similar, that's actually an amazing point, in similar services offered that are, so I should say this market research might be a bit less relevant for this project just because, you guys are sort of given something to do and like the full parameters. But I would say that, this sort of thing, I mean, you could do the same thing for, you could just call it, just like research or consideration. And this could be very helpful for this project actually. But this sort of market research, if you're like, you want to make a business or a website that has some sort of e-commerce or is actually generating some income, that market research is very, very, very important. So I asked ChatGPT to generate this for me, and I told ChatGPT when I said front end and no back end, what I meant was that this website that I'm building is only going to be run locally by, the way that we have done in the past, just by moving the index HTML to the browser. Like there's no deployment, there's no servers I'm using for backend. It's just going to be a web page that clients, we can share with them and they can just see, just to get an idea of what's going on. So that's our goal for this one. So let's ask ChatGPT, what are some failures in similar services offered that we need to think about? Or that, what was the name? Cookies coding? Cookies coding. That cookies coding needs to think about to have a successful MVP. Okay, so these are interesting. Lack of clear value proposition. Legal and compliance. Interesting. Scalability. Let me see how I can ask. I think this is amazing. I think I will actually copy this and I will make a separate document that I'll put in our file that'll have that. Actually, why don't I just do that here? All right, so now we have a lot of things in this market research document. I think this is great. Let's now think about the scope and the objectives. Actually, it's already 9. Okay, so I think before we get to scope and objectives, let's take a 5-minute break. We'll be back in 5 minutes, 9:05, and we'll finish with the scope and objectives, and then I'll show, where we'll save this file in our repo, and then from this we'll come up with the user stories for like what our website should have. And so mostly, the user stories, it'll be based on this stuff, right? So like homepage, portfolio, contact info. So based on like these, I will even ask it actually generate some user stories for us, and then I can modify those and add to those. So yeah, let's come back at 9:05. All right, we are back. Yeah, I see some comments here, people staying up late. That is not, you know, getting sleep is very important. Although I can't say the same because I probably slept like 3 hours. So, yeah, it's very important to get adequate sleep. I'll probably be paying for this later. All right, so what we're going to work on next is we're going to finish that bit on scope and objectives. And so let me actually show that here. So in our market research, we want to define what the app will do and what it will not, and then list some primary features that are planned. And so, yeah, sleep there, nice. All right, so specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Okay, so like we already know what we want to accomplish. So I think I'll put in what we want to accomplish, and then I'll ask ChatGPT to reframe that in the context of like that question. So it's better answering that question. And I can just give it a bunch of bullet points. I'll even tell it here. I'll say, I'm going to give you a set of bullet points followed by a query. And I'll say, I want you to use the bullet points I provide to answer the query. I just say query because it's not really a question, although it sort of is, but we'll go with that. Okay, so let's think of some bullet points, like to answer this one, what the app will do and what it will not, the primary features and functionalities that are planned. Okay, let's think about some things. So, and I'll even scroll up here so we can see this. Can I make this bigger here? Oh, I guess I can't. Okay, so I'll say that, you know, we want a homepage for our consulting service. And ideally on this homepage, we showcase our mission, what we want to accomplish, or just our mission statements, you know, what we're aiming to accomplish, what makes us different, you know, as well as a place where clients can submit inquiries for further contacts. I think that's good. What are some other things that we might want? Say we want a separate page where we outline all our services offered, what makes us unique in how we offer these services. So I think that'll be a separate page. So that's another like feature. Okay. We want, and yeah, do feel free either to unmute or type in the chat and let me know what are some other things that we can have here. I know that I think we want client testimonials, and ideally, you know, that would actually be on the front page. I'll just put we want client testimonials either on the home page, like the main page, or a separate page, easily accessible, where reviews from clients are featured. And this is to build trust and credibility. Promotions updates, excellent. So we want somewhere to feature promotional offers, maybe like seasonal discounts, special services, etc. You know, ideally on the home page. Near the end of the page, yeah, for sure. I've even seen, and this will probably be very hard to do with just pure HTML, CSS, JavaScript, but you know, like you have those like arrows and like the testimonials are like every time you click, it's like a sliding, it's hard for me to describe it, Let me actually show it here because I think it's pretty cool. I'll just draw it here and I can erase it after. But it's like, you're probably all know what I'm talking about. It's like these, and then you have like an arrow here and you click this exactly. And it's like a sliding presentation. Upload other testimonial. So that's something we're gonna try to go into. Transitioning. Ooh, okay, actually, yeah, that's a very good point. And I think, yeah, we can, for sure, yeah, I will provide like, I think some of these queries that I asked, what I'll do later is I will actually we'll share this requirements document. And so that'll have like in it sort of the questions that we have provided as well. And I can even share this chat. I'll share this chat as a link. Yeah. Just so we can, there's an example here. Okay, so perfect. Yeah, what was oh yeah, so this like transition, I think that's a good point. We'll actually go into how to do that, definitely. But yeah, you will make it on click. You'll probably have all 4 of them on the page, but have only one show at any point in time. And then on click, it like changes it. This is a good way to do it. Now in future, we're going to be introducing like other libraries and like other things you can use to make designing easier. And I think this slideshow, you'll see it requires a lot of work using pure HTML and CSS. But with some future technologies that we are going to mention on Stacks, it'll make that a lot easier to build. All right. Let's see. Good. So this is ideal on the home page. Let's see, where was I? Okay, so we want somewhere to show our contact information and maybe like our team members. Yeah. And contact. I'll put contact info here. So, and maybe company specific contact info. We want someplace to show our team members, and this will include sort of team specific, who is on our team, and then their contact info, like maybe their company email, Okay. Oh yeah, we want an FAQ section where we answer common questions, and I think that is good. Oh yeah, we want a navigation menu. And I will say, and also a major constraint is that, a quote form. Is that like someone can, like they can put in some information about what their service is and like kind of like what they want, and we provide a quote on like how much it might cost them? Okay, perfect. I think that's actually amazing. Okay, we want a quote form. Client provides some information regarding the services, the size of their company, product information, and we provide a possible range of costs. So that, I think that would be good. And then not only range of costs, maybe also with some information, and this might not actually be building this out, but I think it might be good to talk about it with some information about potential yeah, the amount of coding, I have not opened it, but I imagine it's a lot. We'll take a look at that later. With some information about, I think, one other good thing we might want on this website is like we have our quote and then we show competitors and we're like, okay, we actually provide better services for maybe the same, if not cheaper cost. Potential, as well as also with the cost of competitors and how we are better than them. Okay, perfect. And I'll say a major constraint is that this MVP is only going to be hosted locally and is only using pure HTML, CSS, JavaScript. We have no backend and no memory persistence. So there's no way, like, every time you reload this site, it's a fresh site. Oh, excellent. Let me put that here. And hours of operation, when they can contact us. So I'm going to give you a set of bullet points. I want you to use it for the answer. Okay, so let's see what happens. MVP is a minimum viable product. I will also put it here because I am. So we are making a minimum viable product for coding cookies. All right, so let's check this out. What is this going to give us? Okay, I think this is pretty good in terms of, because we're going to be using this scope and objective to help us figure out sitemap. Okay, let's check that out. Sitemap. Perfect. Okay, let's actually, we should put that in here. Can you add a sitemap into planning? Actually, here, what we'll do, so I think the sitemap, we will include that on, is that something that goes on the site itself? Or is that something that we use to help us make the website? I'm just curious. Okay, wait, let me read this. All right, let's do that. Please include a sitemap in the in what you know what, when I copy and paste it, I will put sitemap in. Okay, so we have a home page, and then okay, I think this is good. I think this bit might be too much detail. I'll say, can you expand the bullet points to ensure that everything mentioned next to objectives 1 through 6 is also inside of the bullet points you've given me. Let's see if ChatGPT is smart enough to do this, to understand what's going on. Oh my God, what is it doing? Actually, this is not that bad. Let's see, is this everything that we talked about? So homepage, mission statement, hours of operation, promotional offers. Although I don't like this, like, I guess that's fine. I'm just checking, like, does this have everything that we talked about? This looks pretty good. Hey, Sarma, do you have a question? I just noticed here and we did. So feel free to. Oh, okay. Photographs of team members, if available. Okay. I mean, this looks like it has everything that I wrote above, right? Or that we wrote above. Just confirming. If it does, I'll just copy and paste this over. I think that'll be good. Oh, let's do that. Okay. Oh, wait. We need one more thing. Okay, can you add, I'll say here, can you add an objective 7 detailing what we won't have on our website? Some limitations. Maybe just some limitations that were provided earlier. All right, let's see what it says now. I will actually put this as separate under limitations because it's not really objective. It's more like just limitations. Okay. Perfect. Let's see here. And I will just put this 1, 2, 3. All right, let's see. I do need to include outline limitations that our MVP will have. Ooh, why is that so large? Well, maybe I should just copy that. That our MVP will have. Okay, perfect. But why is it? What's going on? Okay, there we go. So we will have labs today. We'll say here. Okay, I'm going to put another one here, and I'm going to tell it design a sitemap because I think that's a very good point. That's for SEO, right? SEO considerations. No, but here I'll put sitemap. Sitemap generation. Consider user accessibility, and then consider adding tags, meta tags. Maybe I think that might be. Okay. Very briefly talk about some limitations that we have. So I think this was mentioned here that okay, and I think that is about it. Oh, okay. All right, I'll see. So add user accessibility, meta tags, and keywords to increase our SEO and potentially the number of clients who will see our website. Perfect. And I'm just reading here the sitemap. This is very important. It's a good point you brought up. So Google can read this file and crawl our site more effectively. That just makes it easier for users to actually find it because our SEO will be higher. I think that's a good point. Okay, I think that's everything. Does anyone have anything else that they might want to add in this sort of document? If not, I will download this. Well, I will copy it. Yeah, maybe I'll just literally just copy it. Book a meeting with a calendar. Oh, like a feature, right? Okay, let's add that in. For sure. We need a, okay, here I'll say ability to book a meeting with a calendar. Now that might not be on our MVP, but that is something a consulting site does need. Okay, perfect. So let's actually, we'll put that in here. And I just copied everything. So now let's just do it here. Market research, make a markdown, and just paste that. Perfect. All right. Let's see. Okay, so I have that document, and I will add, and I'll commit, added our market research. Okay, so we have all our market research, and let me push that so we can see that remotely. And let's see, do we have that remotely? Yeah. All right, check it out. So now we've got everything remote. And I think we're going to be using this to help us. So I'll have this on the side. Actually, why don't I put it? Put it here for now. I think what we're going to do now is we're going to think about user stories. So let me user stories. Let me actually put some examples of user stories, and then we'll brainstorm our user stories together. All right, let me find, because I have a separate repo where I have put some user stories. Let me find that. Okay, so here's an example of a user story. So user stories like, that's an X, right? Let's see, I want to see the code. Oh no, okay, so contact, we'll keep that in mind, very important. As I want to Y, and then we'll put language here, or maybe what we need. Okay, so this is our format for user stories. We're gonna say for all of those, basically these that we discussed, and I will, let me actually find it here. I'll move it here, okay? For all of these, where was I? This. Is there any way to hide this? Well, it's probably should be okay. Okay. So we know that what our scopes are and objectives are, but what we want to do is we want to turn this into a format of user stories that'll be easier for us than to come up with the wireframe. Like, okay, we need an input field, we need navigation, we need buttons, right? So, oh, click on the eye. Oh, perfect, awesome, thank you. Wait, can I still write this? Oh, uh-oh. I think if I do that, I don't think I can write this anymore. So that's not, it's okay. Exactly. So it's like, as a X, the type of user, I want to do Y, the feature, and in blank, I have the language. So I'll say here, I will write this here, that as a, so we want to think about homepage and what we have here. So the first thing I'll say is, as a potential client, I want to be able to easily find your homepage and see, and if I'm interested, see what you're offering, and if I'm interested, quickly send a message for an inquiry. Right now, in blanks, I will put what languages I'm going to use primarily to accomplish this. And so for this one, I think it'll just be HTML and JavaScript, because the HTML is where we have our web page, and then the JavaScript is for the user interaction. And so CSS will be when we want to style things properly. So I think I will add that in as separate user stories. But yeah, this is sort of the format of what we have. So let's come up with some user stories. I'll just put as a potential client, I want to be able to get a quote and see how your services compare with other competitors. That's going to be another one. A lot of these are going to be as a potential client. I think if we had like memory and persistence, then we could have user stories about current clients, because we would know, there would probably be some type of login. We would know who's a client and who isn't, and there'd be some like history, right? Like people have accounts and they can see their current pending quotes or their, current whatever contract they have signed with us for some service and so on. And yeah, but we don't have any memories. This will only be potential clients. Maybe also as a potential client, I want to see company specific information, contact information, including your team and their information. And so that, I think this would be like, if I have any specific inquiry, and I know these are really long, but I think that's okay for now, right? Like what if sometimes IT consulting services, like they have different departments and different people specialize in different things. So maybe they don't want to send an inquiry just to the general, right? Maybe they want to contact specific people and see if they can get some information. Oh, excellent. Get feedback. I'll add that in. Any specific inquiries, I can direct them to team members individually. That will also be HTML and JavaScript. All right, so I see another one, get feedback, perfect. So that would actually be, I think that could be as a potential client, as a client or potential client. I want to be able to provide feedback on your services. And that's also going to be HTML and JavaScript, right? Because we might have an input form, we'll have somewhere where they hit send, and we will just, at least visually and maybe internally in the data, like we can just maybe, to see that that's being received, we'll just console log that. And so we can see in the dev tools that that information has been taken and is being handled by our in our JS file. Perfect. Okay, what are some other things? So I think let me remove this because we have quite a few examples already. Let's think of some more. Be able to see, excellent. As a potential client, I want to be able to see past testimonials. I can better judge your services. Yeah, that's perfect. And that's also HTML and JavaScript. Statistics, okay, perfect. What sort of statistics? Like how many people, I'm guessing, are using our product? Yeah, I'll go with that. So I think that's good. As a potential client, market research. I want to be able to see how many people have used your services. And maybe also like the amount of money that you're working with. Because sometimes, a good way to judge credibility and trust of a service is that, yes, they have large numbers of users, but also if they have handled a lot of money and like large contracts, and they've handled it in a very credible way and like very trustworthy, then that is a good signal for the legitimacy of that organization. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so quotes. Okay, so we have, I think the testimonials is there. We have a team page. Like team page. Put here, team page. Okay, maybe that their team and their information, and here I'll put team page. Okay, let's see what else we can think about. Oh yeah, frequently asked questions. Do I have that here? Probably not. As a potential client, I want to be able to easily see frequently asked questions, or maybe even, sometimes it's hard to. Now, it'll be very difficult for us to implement in JavaScript the functionality that can do this. Maybe it is actually doable, but what we can do is we might want to look into, instead of just having to like scroll down all the way to where the question is, maybe someone can very easily type in the question, and then it sort of like auto directs them to questions that are similar, and they have a drop down selection. So I will put that, maybe a search bar auto direct for that. And that'll be HTML and JavaScript. Example of our work page, excellent. So as a potential client, so I want to be able to see examples of prior work. So this is not just testimonials, but like actual code, projects, portfolios. And maybe even like the statistics about that, like, maybe even here, statistics, maybe even, okay, not statistics, but it'll be like money, maybe revenue increase, right? Because that should be provided. Like maybe our average client sees a revenue increase of this much money or something like that, or nets a return of this much. Or rather, I think better would be return on investment. Let's say if they spend like 10,000 to buy our services, their net revenue within the first 2 months of their company opening or their project opening, they're able to make back all the money that they spent. I think that is, so that's why it's put revenue increase or the revenue made. That's something important for the client to know. And even that, they could be as well. Oh, perfect. So a potential client, I want to be able to see video testimonials from past clients. Excellent. That's also HTML, JavaScript. Okay. Answers, user-friendly quote, cost range. So did I have that here? Quotes. Okay. Perfect. Oh, excellent. As a potential employee, I want to be able to see, that's excellent, because that's a new type of user. See a career page where I can browse jobs offered and send my resume. That'll also be HTML and JavaScript. Going on. Okay. User, I want a clean and nicely, I'll just put this in, stylized site with good responsiveness for mobile apps as well. So that's all CSS. I just put that in because we need something for CSS. Training provided. By training, do you mean like training for potential for the employees? Yeah, courses might be a lot, because we already have quite a few pages, and I think it would be good also we have career. So I think we'll leave out courses for now, but Courses would be an interesting thing we could offer in the future. Excellent. Okay, that's perfect. So yes. I think that would be that might be in these services. Where was it? See what you're offering. So I'll put this here. So all potential services and costs. Let me put this as separate actually. As a potential client, I want to easily see all your services offered, including things like training, workshops, etc. The HTML, JavaScript. Excellent. Verifying if a company is genuine or some group of scammers. It's a good point. I guess that, yeah, that would be like verifying that if the client is genuine, or I'm just seeing here, maybe that so some of these might be like this one I think might not be something that we do in the MVP, the cybersecurity, but I think most of these are covered. It really is, most of the site will be, we're really just we're gonna display services. There's a bit of interaction. There are buttons that users click. There are forms that users type in messages to. I think the calculator will even be a form as well that displays the quote on like how much is expected. Goodies are free stuff. Oh, okay. Okay, wait, let's include that. And goodies as well. So actually goodies. Maybe there are free things we offer, free services, and then etc. So I think that's good. Yeah. Okay. So I think that's good. Does anyone have any other ooh, okay, wait. I think that's good. I want to put that as a separate thing, actually. As a potential client, I want sometimes, or let's say I am interested, or let's say I like receiving free goodies. Showcase some of these if offered. And I'll say this is, we get their attention. That'll be also HTML and JavaScript. Perfect. So I think we have everything that we wanted. So what we just did is we took all of these objectives here, and we just translated them in terms of what a client wants to see. And I think because this is going to be easier in terms of actually building features out, because we're going to be thinking about the clients. Let's see what else we can have. I think, okay, maybe, you know what, I will put something as, I think this is also very important. So as a potential user, I want accessibility to be considered. But that's like, for instance, sometimes when you navigate through a site, let me see, is it here? You want to be able to use like, let me see if I can find an example of a site. It's pretty decent accessibility. All right, check this out. So this is a pretty good site, div checker. So this is an example of accessibility. If I click this and I click tab, oops, notice how I go there, and then I go there, and then I go there. So I can navigate this site without using a mouse, just through tab, like by using tab and like the up and down. I think no, actually no, up and down does not work, but this whole site could be navigated just through using tabs. See, tab, like I just click this. Well, I click this and then I just hit tab to, so maybe there's a little bit of, obviously, usage of mouse, but they try to have as much accessibility as possible for people who cannot use the mouse or don't have one. Oh, for sure. Awesome. Okay. I'll actually put that here. Oops. I just delete something. Okay, no. As a potential client, I want to see if any services can be demo offered for me to test before buying. That's good. Newsletter. I think that could be good. Yeah, we could somewhere, I think that'll be the promotional offers. Let me actually see, do I have that somewhere here? Promotional offers. I think the promotional offers will sort of be like our newsletter. I'll just put it here. As a potential client, I want to be able to see promotional offers or seasonal offers. Perfect. Okay, I think that's pretty much everything. Definitely more we could add though. Okay, I think this is good. We're gonna go with this. Let us copy this whole thing. Let's minimize these. We'll open our thing here, and we're gonna put here, we're gonna put user requirements, user stories, requirements. Perfect. Let me add that in. So I see git status. Okay, that has not been added. Commit. So add, commit. So I'll say added user stories requirements based on brainstorming and market research. Let's push that. And let's see, is this remote? Okay, so this, wait, do I need to, what is this? Okay, that's the whole thing, so I don't need that. And then go back to here. Okay, so it looks like my user stories have been added. Let's actually take a look though. Okay, so as you can see, we have it there. I think what I'm also going to do really quickly is I'll make this bold, the language, or like what is expected to be used. So I'm going to do that really quickly. All right, so I just did that. All right, these are now bolded. So I think that's good. All right, so what I will do now is I will show how the pull request looks when we actually do it. Let's actually first, okay, so locally, let's switch to our main branch. Notice that when I switch to main locally, everything is gone because these changes are only on lecture 36, right? So for this lecture, I made a separate branch. I did all my code on that branch, and now I'm going to merge this branch back into main using a pull request. So usually we have this here, but I can just make one, like a new pull request. And so what this is doing is it's saying into my main branch, this might be master branch. The naming is kind of either going to be main or master. And I'm going to compare lecture 36. So what this means is that I'm going to take all these changes, all these commits I have here, and I'm going to put them into my main branch. So then my main branch for the next instructor has everything we did on this lecture. So let's create this pull request. Okay, so I'll be, this was our market research and user requirements, brainstorming, lecture 36. Maybe even put Tuesday morning. All right, let's create that pull request. Now notice we can assign people. And I think for future pull requests, I will be doing this because I will be adding, right after I do this, I'm going to add the collaborators, and I'll show how we do that as well. But for now, we'll just do this because this is pretty much the initial setup. But what you can do is, there are labels here. I'll see if I can find a video that goes into a little bit of that. Labels, reviewers, assignees. You can assign people to pull requests, like look at them. You can assign people to review it. Now I can't assign anyone because there's nobody on this project but me right now, but I will add them in. Now notice that I have a full commit history of all these. These are all the commits I did. And then, yeah, I can merge it. So what I'm going to do is I will merge, but I will squash and merge. And what that does is basically these 4 commits, they're squashed into one commit and put on the main branch. And so that the reason why is because your main branch has all your commit history from every branch, right? If you squash and merge, that commit history will just take up less space. Whereas, like for instance, let's say I was working on a hypothetical branch, building out a huge feature, and I had 100 commits. If I don't squash and merge, when I pull request that back into my main branch will now have 100 more commits in its commit history. But if I do squash and merge, it only has 1 from the PR. Now, the benefit of doing squash and merge is like, yes, there's less clutter. Downside is that like these individual commits, I cannot go to them. Like I cannot go once this is merged in. If I'm not on this branch, if I'm on main, I can only go back to like before the whole thing, all 4 of these existed. I cannot individually isolate the project at this point in time, at this point in time, at this point in time. Like we can show that a bit later, but that was also on yeah, we can go into that a bit later, but I think just a good practice that I often do is I do squash and merge. All right, so let's squash and merge that, confirm. Perfect, it's been added. So just to be safe, I won't delete this. Now notice that the main branch has everything. It has everything here, and lecture 36 was merged in. This was our most recent change. So now we have all these bits here. So our remote has the latest changes, but our local does not on main. So I can just do a git pull. Now I have everything. Now by everything, pretty much just these two. I think that's, and that's pretty much it for this lecture. I think we'll take a 10-minute break, and then I'll say everybody who has questions, just think about those questions, and for sure. And at 10:07, I'll be back. And we can take up all the questions before we get to the lab.
It's a quick question, Alim, if you can take it. It's not about the... Hello?
For sure, yeah, feel free to.
Okay. So I'm just wondering, is it possible we can make a WhatsApp group of all the participants here? Like, I know all the people are in that color coding WhatsApp group, which is for announcements and other, but we are not able to message in that. So if we want to collaborate with each other, or we want to ask something from each other, is it a possibility we can do that? Or if you guys can make a group for us, and then you can remove yourself as an admin, and then you can manage that group.
For sure, yeah. So there is Slack.
Yeah,
we
there
already
is Slack,
have
but I feel that it's just not the Slack is not used to its full potential. Like we usually, like, I don't see anything activity on Slack, or no, there's no channel which is I see the traffic on the channel. Like, I don't see anyone talking to each other on Slack. So if it's if others are okay with that, just a suggestion I'm asking.
For sure, I can look
Yeah.
into that, and I can bring that up, and we'll.
Yes, please, because if sometimes, like, I feel I'm way behind, and I can get help from maybe others by asking a simple question, not to bother you, and you have to repeat each and every time from the beginning again. So it can be helpful if others are okay, and if, like, I know it's hard to keep the WhatsApp notification coming in again and again, but like, if anyone wants to join that group, then we can help each other using that.
No worries. I'll look into that, and I'll bring that up.
Thank you so much.
We will probably do that. So
Oh.
No worries. All right, so I'll be back in 10:08, and or let's say 10:10, and then we'll go into the lab and discuss the lab. Actually, I'm going to start the recording again because there's one thing that I forgot to bring up. Let me share my screen, and that is adding people as collaborators to a GitHub project. All right, so can everyone see my screen? Okay, perfect. All right, so just on the main sort of, the repo here, we'll click settings. Now you have to be the owner of the repo to do this, but we'll click settings, and then here, access collaborators. Just click that. Okay, so I need to type in my password. One sec. I'm just going to stop sharing and log in because I need to find my password. I will start sharing again very shortly. Okay, let me log in. All right, so here, let me start sharing again. All right, so if everyone sees that, all I did, that prompt, I typed in my password, I logged in, and so now I'm here in collaborators under settings. So this is for my repo. Now, because I'm the person who created the repo, I get access to these sorts of things. So, in this group project, whoever creates the repo will have to do this, so other people can, get access to it. Now, then you add people here. So you'll use you can use their GitHub email or username. So I'm gonna add the other two instructors. I'm going to add this name, and I'm also going to add Iman. And I will let them know that I added them to the repo. So then they will have access to this as full contributors. So they'll be able to pull and proceed with future lectures. So I think even if it's a good question. If it's a public repo, they can still clone it. They might be able to clone it. But I think that they need to be added as collaborators if they want to push things into this repo and make new branches and stuff like that. So they won't need to be regardless of public or private. But public or private concerns other people being able to see this repo, and they're able to do something called fork, which basically they copy this thing and they make their own repository on their own account. That's an exact copy of this. That's sort of the best description of fork I can give. Now, because I made this private, they are not able to do that. So it's only, I have added those Yaman into Steam, so they'll be able to see this as soon as they accept the request. All right, so does anyone have, oh, Samra, do you have feel free to let me know your question.
No, I was done. I think it's the hand is raised from before. Let me lower it.
Okay, no worries. All right, so if nobody has any questions, basically today's lab is just an open-ended lab. So you can work on any of the past assignments that we have assigned that are yet outstanding, or if you have questions about sort of what I did, Git, or anything about the market research and maybe the best way to go about it, or user stories, feel free to ask me questions about that. So the lab is pretty open-ended today with regards to that.